Okay, so we're in Coalfield in the East Midlands, Coalville, sorry. We're just here with John Pearson, owner of this KLR650. John, why did you buy KLR650?
I was looking for something that I could use off-road, but also use on-road, something that got a good reputation as being like a overland tourer, I suppose, really. The kind of thing that people have taken all over the world. It came up to the right money, and it was in very good order for what it was. I put a few bits and bobs on it, a few extras to try and make that experience a bit better, but you know, here we are. I've had it a couple of years now and considering changing it. So obviously I've looked towards the BM 310 GS. I've looked towards the Himalayan. Himalayan seems to be really good value on paper, so I'm interested to see what the bike ride's like, what the experience of a Himalayan is, a more budget bike as such. The KLR's not offered anywhere in the world, I don't believe, after this year, so I'm just sort of thinking, well, move up to something new. It's that new factor against something retro, I suppose, really. And when you're using it on lanes, as long as it does the job, you work along with it. But I just fancy something new.
So today we're going to take these two bikes out. You're going to ride my bike, and you're going to basically see if you like it or not, and whether you'd choose one over a KLR650 or whether you'd swap it out.
That's it.
All right, let's do some riding.
Okay.
Okay, so we've just got to the end of the first trail, riding the KLR650 and the Himalayan. John, first impressions on the Himalayan?
Suspension feels good. Does feel quite planted, quite surprised. Cost of the bike to how it feels. Brakes have had a slating on these, on the reviews. They actually feel slightly better than the KLRs, I would say.
Yes.
The bike feels it feels as big in width, but certainly in stature there's a big difference. But I've just stepped off a seat height, probably 40 centimetres bigger.
And how tall are you?
I'm about 6 foot.
Yeah.
So I've just stepped off quite a bit bigger seat height. So the bike feels big enough in its width for me, but it is something to get used to, the lower riding position, and certainly just how it seems to sit when you're hitting some of the bigger holes that were just concerned as to whether you're going to bottom out. That was all. But I suppose that's something you're going to get used to as the bike.
Yeah, you've certainly not got the ground clearance. I mean, you can see there, like the difference in ground clearance, and even I think suspension travel. You talked about the brakes, and I think what I noticed. Yeah, I think this is actually Himalayan's brakes are a touch better, but you don't have the dive on this, do you? It's clear that that's got longer travel suspension than on the Himalayan. Engine-wise?
Engine-wise, I wouldn't say it feels powerful, but there again, I've just got off a 650 and we're onto it. It feels adequate. Feels adequate for what it is, and it's certainly on the lanes it's adequate. On the road, I've been relatively steady with it anyway, but it feels adequate. I think that would be a
I think adequate's a fair word. Yeah. I mean, it's nice. You can tell that that's just got that much more thump, hasn't it? That much more power than the Himalayan. All right.
Okay.
Crack
onwards. Across there.
Alright, so we've been riding some trails now for a good, 20 minutes, half an hour or so. John, how are you finding this Himalayan?
As I said in the past stop, it's a nice little bike. It's washing out a little bit on the front. I think that's quite clearly due to the tyre that's on there. Apology already made. Once I got into I picked the wrong line, and obviously trail riding is all about picking your right line. I picked a shite one on one of those lanes. When I was in it, there was no way I could have stood up because I was literally bouncing along either side of the rut. Once I was in it, that's it.
The ground clearance is an issue.
Ground clearance is a little bit of an issue, but you know, you ride accordingly. You pick out your route for the bike, don't you? So.
And that we did a bit of road work then. What about the engine and things? A weight road on the road?
Well, I tried a couple of 3 months ago. I tried a 310 GS. Riding that on the road at the time, I didn't feel like it went too bad. But I would say, I know this has loosened up a lot with the mileage of about 15,000, but certainly this feels to go to me equally as well as that did.
That's okay.
And it's not buzzy.
No.
I found the 310, once you got up there up about 50, 60 miles an hour, something like that, or you're up in the rev range, felt a little bit buzzy. Whereas this doesn't. I don't know whether that's just loosened out of it or whether that's how they are.
It does take the Himalayan does take at least 1,200 miles before it starts feeling looser.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think the 310 is a bit of a buzz box.
The 310, it was a nice road bike, I think is what you'd say. Certainly, I took that on a couple of lanes. They were nothing like this when I took that bike out. You know, they were quite hard, because say going back a couple of months. But certainly the suspension straight away, you were down on the bottom of the suspension. I've not had that today.
No.
The suspension is one thing I would say is a good thing about the bike.
And just to compliment the KLR650, I mean, the KLR650 gets a lot of criticism for being outdated and too heavy, but coming along these lanes, I was thinking all the time as I rode it along, what a shame it's no longer sold in America, and what a shame we never got it to the UK, because it's such a usable bike on these A and B roads. It's a nice amount of power, nice suspension, nice handling, charismatic, you know, it doesn't feel too heavy, it doesn't feel bad in any aspect, really. I guess there's better dynamic bikes, but then, you know, the Himalayan works for me because I like its gentle nature, and I think the KLR in a similar manner, it's not the fastest, it's not the best, but it's just a nice bike to ride, to poodle along on. And it's nice having that extra bit of meat compared to the Himalayan. I must admit, you know, you've got, what, 20 horsepower more?
Yeah, 20 horsepower more.
And it is nice to have that. As I say, it's just a shame we can't buy the KLR650, because I really like it. So we're going to do some more trails. We've got quite a, I guess the camera never shows the true extent, but we've got some mud, claggy mud along here, claggy mud along there. We've just come along there. Just to help John's excuses along, let me show you this tyre. This tyre is, so it's an MT60 that's quite worn, so no wonder it's sliding around a bit compared to a Mitre C09 on the front of the KLR650. So I have the upper hand. All right, John, so you've been going up and down this muddy trail on both bikes. What kind of your impressions?
Well, stepping straight back onto the KLR, straight away, I know it's my own bike, I know I ride it on this type of stuff before. Felt good, felt planted, felt the Himalayan wasn't going to touch it, is what was my initial thoughts. Especially, I've got in the back of my mind, that tyre.
Yep.
Anyway, slip onto the Himalayan and I'm shocked. I'll be honest, I am really shocked. Riding down here, especially, you can feel the front, you can constantly feel it. That's the tyre, I know that. But once you're actually in this muddy, horrible mess that we've been left with by the 4x4s down here, it feels lovely. Feels planted. It actually, you couldn't fly through these, and I reckon on the KLR, a decent rider probably could actually fly down here. For me, I tootle around trails, and yeah, I could do exactly the same as I'm doing on mine, on that Himalayan, without a doubt, not a problem.
So we've been riding all day, well not all day, what, an hour and a half or so?
Yeah, well, 1:10
So nearly 2 hours. We've done a good mixture of trails, good sludgy, muddy trails, nothing too technical but very slormy, a bit of road work, B-road work. So the idea of this was just to find out whether John, the owner of the KLR650, whether he likes or dislikes the Himalayan. So John, what's your impression?
Nice little bike. I like the Himalayan. It's a lovely little bike, and £4,000. I'd say it's good value at £4,000. The suspension feels good. The brakes, even though they get a slate in, as I said earlier on, they're better than what's on the KLR. But I think they're probably stopping a little bit more weight on the KLR. The clutch, it's lighter than the KLR. We're working with 20 odd years different technology. It does everything it says on the tin. It's a little bit low, so you get caught in ruts. Thankfully I've got my good boots on, as I nearly took my ankle off with something on the side of one of these ruts. Front end washed out, but that's just due to the tyre. That's no fault with the bike itself. And you're at that thought of, I've got a very capable bike that you can't buy in the UK anymore, or the Himalayan being what you can buy in the UK. I can undoubtedly see why so many Himalayans are selling, why so many people love them as a little bike. I would own one tomorrow. I would definitely own a Himalayan. I'd say a lovely little thing. Would I own one over the KLR? Well, we've been chatting that, and that's quite a point.
See, I wouldn't. I would if somebody said, "Do you want to take your bike away or the Himalayan?" I do love my Himalayan, but I can see that's got a lot of appeal of its own.
Yeah.
Which I didn't expect to think. I thought the KLR650. I thought it was going to be what people describe it: a bit old-fashioned, a bit heavy, a bit industrial, a bit agricultural. But it surprised me how nice a bike it is, actually. And it's a shame we can't buy them.
Yeah. I think if you could still buy a 650 single dual sport bike in the UK, then as the Himalayan's doing, I think they'd be selling off the shelves.
Yeah.
Because you've got everything that's simple about motorcycling, everything that you can, to an extent, all but fix it yourself. It keeps going, even if it's got the odd little rattle, even if it's got the odd little issue, they keep going because they're so simple. It's not. It's as simple as a kettle or a toaster. I think a single.
What disappointed you about the Himalayan?
The height. I would definitely say the overall seat height of the bike and ground clearance is the only real downside. But there again, I'm getting off a bike that's probably about 40 mil higher than what we've got there in the Himalayan. I mean, on the road, riding that on the B roads, it felt like a lovely little road bike. It was it's well mannered, it's quick enough, but it won't tear your arms out. Brakes feel nice and safe. I'd say it's a lovely bike. There again, onto the KLR, riding that on the road. Obviously, I've been riding it for a long period of time. It does ride like a big trailer. Well, that's what it is. It's a big trailer. You're never going to take that away. So you're not going to be cornering flat out. Whereas I think the Himalayan, I reckon you could push that.
You can really ride that as a fast road bike when momentum's on your side and you can keep the pace going. That handles really sweetly on the road. Whereas, as you say, that is more trail bike-esque. So I suppose if you're doing mainly road work,
the Himalayan would work. But as I say, it's that toss-up. I already own this, so would I dash out and buy that? Possibly not, because I own this.
Yeah.
If I didn't own them, and I own neither of them, if I was going to look round, I mean, I think this bike, it's just a personal thought, I think this bike's worth about £2,500 in the kit it sits here, and therefore they're £4,000 on the road. So would I go for a 25-year-old bike at £2,500, or would I go for one at £4,000? If I didn't own either, I'd probably be heading towards the £4,000. But there again, it's a real tricky one because it depends what you want to do with it. If you wanted to go trail riding and touring around Derbyshire or touring around Europe, where it was a mix of the two types of use, then this would probably come in for you. Where these may let you down is your parts are going to take longer to get. I'm expecting, because Himalayan dealers are all over the UK, also Enfield dealers, whereas you could still get bits for these brand new from Kawasaki, but they have to be shipped in. So even though you can still get all of the engine parts because I've only just finished making them, plastics might be a bit more of a problem, but you can always get your Polysport stuff and your copies. But yeah, you could still get your bits. A little bit tougher though. So if you wanted something to commute in and out of town and take on trails at the weekend, it might be the Himalayan, I would say.
I do think it's a big shame we can't buy them.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely a big shame. It's such a nice bike, that.
Yeah, if you could buy these out the box today, I'm sure they would be selling off the shelves.
Yeah, good price.
Good price.
£6 if that was £6 today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with that, I didn't notice it today what we've used it on, but the roads have been a little bit damp. The trails have been very wet, but pace-wise, it might be found lacking on dry trails or on nice summer's road, especially in comparison to the 650. If that was probably another 100cc, that might bridge that gap. But there again, it's not. It's a 400.
And it's £4.
And it's £4. So, you know, value for money. I would definitely say you've got value for money there. And usability, I think they're both as good as each other.
Let's go to McDonald's.
Let's go McDonald's. Via some more trails.
Buy some more trails.